From bees to horse meat to ageing populations, an eclectic mix of issues, yet all in one man's portfolio. And to top it all, a smattering of controversy and scandal. It's certainly been a busy 6 months in office. Our guest on ITalk this week is Mr Tonio Borg, who is the EU Commissioner for Health and Consumer Policy. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to go now straight to our first question.
Hello, I'm Michel Cliquet from East-Flanders. I'd like to know what the European Union is doing to prevent horse meat from being sold as beef.
Well, you have just presented a new set of EU food safety proposals, but we're going to have to wait till 2016 until they're adopted into law, possibly. What happens in the meantime?
First of all, this horse meat scandal was not a food safety issue. It was a question of fraud against the consumer.
OK, but there is the yuck factor. How do we know that we're not going to be eating horse meat?
In fact, we have legislation already on labelling. What is important is that when people are caught doing this violation of EU law, they are punished and adequately punished. Now, today, we already have dissuasive and appropriate punishment applied by member states. We are going to increase the dose by legislating to the effect that the pecuniary penalty has to be equal to the economic gain made out of the violation of EU law. And then there will be other inspections unannounced, and also the Commission will be able to oblige member states to do the testing. I must say that the testing of the DNA was done by all member states beyond the numbers suggested.
I guess, though, you must be expecting something like this to happen again, possibly in the near future, because this is a result of an economic crisis where suppliers are squeezed financially to provide cheaper and cheaper products.
Mostly it's a question of economic gain, illicit economic gain. Of course, once there is a law, there is nothing to prevent anyone from violating it. What is important is that he or she is caught, and that person is adjudged by the state courts in the member states. I must say that the entire scandal was discovered through enforcement by a member state, in this case Ireland.
So China is at the moment in the throes of a food scandal itself, where rat meat is being sold as lamb. Now, given that we've got a confusion in our food chain here in Europe, can you be sure that we're not being sold Chinese meat here?
We do conduct inspections outside the European Union, so that importation of food products from outside the European Union have to come from certain approved sites, sometimes even approved regions. So this is the
But can you be sure? Can you be sure that meat from China is not coming into Europe?
No. Sometimes we import food products from outside the European Union. We are not completely self-sufficient.
But there is a possibility that this tainted meat could reach Europe?
Not that I know of, because we do sound inspections outside the European Union. Everything can happen. I mean, even 3 summers ago, there was the importation of vegetables from outside the European Union, which happened to be contaminated, and we had fatalities in that respect. So in this globalization, era of globalization, and a free market also within the European Union, everything can happen. But I think we have one of the best food safety systems in the world and one of the best labelling legislation in the world as well. And we should be proud of that.
OK, let's move now on to our next question, which comes from Latvia.
Hello, my name is Baiba. I'm from Latvia. My question is, how can you ensure that the new law on a ban for bee pesticides will be enforced?
So this isn't actually a ban yet, it's a suspension, I think, for 2 years. But how are you going to monitor this? It's rather tricky.
There was resistance against this ban, but there was an absolute majority in favour. There wasn't the qualified majority in favour, neither against, in which case then the Commission proceeded with its ban, and that is EU law. So it will be enforced, and if member states do not enforce it, then it would be possible for the Commission to start infringement proceedings.
OK. But you were fighting a very powerful lobby, the pesticide lobby, and they've been arguing that over the course of 5 years, if this ban were to go to 5 years, this would cost the economy something like European economy 17 billion euros and lose something like 50,000 jobs. What do you say to that?
I must say that some member states have already implemented before the ban itself, and these economic apocalyptic consequences did not result. So we have to protect our bees, because the bees are doing this pollination, which if it had to be translated into euros, it would cost billions of euros as well.
So the pesticide companies acting in bad faith?
No, I'm saying that they are not correct on this position. And after all, it is scientific evidence which has been the basis of the EFSA opinion, of the Food Safety Authority's opinion, and I cannot ignore this scientific opinion.
OK, let's go now to our final question, which comes from Greece.
Good morning, my name is Katerini, I'm from Greece. I have a question to ask. Regarding ageing populations, how will the EU manage health issues in the future?
This is a good question, isn't it? Because in less than 40 years, it's estimated that a third of European populations are going to be over 60. Is it unsustainable in terms of, looking after their health?
No, in these times of economic crisis, there will be cuts in health budgets as well. I mean, this will be normal. So rather than whining about these cuts, one has to spend money in a smarter way. Without, however, going below the threshold of what is essential for healthcare, particularly to the ageing populations as well. We have what we call the innovative partnership on healthy ageing, which we promote as a European Commission. But also we have to discover new means of cutting costs and retaining healthcare. For instance, e-health. It would be something very positive if all member states would indulge in this e-health. I will be visiting Northern Ireland next week to see what they have done in e-health, which was a very successful experiment. More than 20,000 patients are involved in this e-health, where you are monitored, your health situation is monitored from the center, and you remain at home. And this would be beneficial for those who have reached a certain age, rather than going to clinics and covering these distances, and you would be effectively and efficiently monitored while staying at home, and at the same time cutting costs also for the state.
You mentioned people were whining about the health cuts. Who's whining?
Everybody sometimes whines because no one likes cuts. Even the Commission had to redraft its budget because of the cuts which we had in the multi-annual financial programme.
But do you accept that now, in this period of economic crisis, people aren't really able to afford healthcare, and we're going to possibly see a degradation of health across Europe?
It shouldn't be so. In fact, we are going to establish a panel of experts within Sanco, within my services, to give the proper advice to the health systems, because otherwise they will become not viable anymore. And that would lead to the collapse of the entire system. So if we don't take remedial action now, not only in our economies, but also in our health systems, then we are inviting problems and big problems for the future. So it's better to take the preventive medicine now.
Is it up to the EU how much national governments spend on health?
No, that's a question of subsidiarity. Subsidiarity is very strong in the health sector. So we actually coordinate, try and help states to reach their goals, but it remains the prime responsibility of the member states. What we are encouraging them in is to invest more in prevention. Because right now, only 3% is on prevention.
The Troika has actually slashed spending on health in Greece and Portugal.
Yes, as well, which does not mean slashing directly, but trying to use the funds which they have in a smarter way. So it is in the interest of the member states to reform their health system if we want viable health systems for the future.
OK, and finally, slightly off topic, when you were elected Commissioner, there was some controversy over your personal views, particularly same-sex marriages, divorce. What do you say to your detractors who had said that your personal values would affect policy making?
Well, judge me by my actions. I think I have been very active in certain respect as regards animal welfare, as regards other issues as well, and I have respected the principle of subsidiarity. That is to say, in most matters which you have mentioned, those are the responsibility of member states and not of the Commission.
And so your personal values will not influence policy making in the future?
My personal values are my personal values. They are important in the same way as other commissioners have their personal values, but we are here as European commissioners and we apply EU law.
Commissioner, many thanks for joining us on iTalk. To find out who our next iTalk guest will be, check out our website and then post us your questions, either video or written. From the European Parliament studios in Brussels, I'm Isabelle Kumar. Thanks for joining us.